Once again, I would like to welcome Rebecca back to the stage. And, I want to also share that, when we're talking about this topic of letting our greatness shine and really being connected with what makes us quirky, which I also consider to be unique. What sets us apart? I know I can resonate with that deeply with my enthusiasm. I am one of those people that when you meet me, you'll find I'm very enthusiastic because I see potential everywhere. I see potential everywhere. And so that makes me a very excited person. But not everyone sees that. And so I started dimming that light myself until I ended up meeting Rebecca and started stepping into her books of Step Forward and Shine, Bloom Where You're Planted and Shine. Shine. So without further ado, please welcome back Miss Rebecca Gruyter.
Well, this presentation, we're going to be talking about spring forward. We started the conversation at the beginning of the day. We've been adding in petals to your beautiful flower and connections. And when we're talking about springing forward, I want us to remember what our intention was. So let's take a moment and look at your intention again. Let's keep it top of mind. I want you to look at your flower and see what you've added in with Adrian's presentation. Because this is all weaving together, conspiring together for you to spring forward in 2019 and beyond. And what was really laid on my heart is to tell you, have you picture something with me. It's not quite telling a story, but it's having you picture something. Imagine I have this beautiful gift that I've been preparing for years. And I know now is its time. This is the moment to share this gift with this person. This is a crossroads in their life. This is the moment that this will support them to take things to unbelievable places. And I'm coming closer. And I hand you a gift, and your hands are outreached, ready to take. And just before I give it to you, I pull it back. Because I notice there's a little torn edge in the paper, and maybe I didn't choose quite the right paper or the right wrapping, and maybe they won't like the gift that I've lovingly prepared. What I believe is that each of you are that gift. That hands are actually outstretched, waiting for you. You are the gift. And so often we feel that, okay, now I'm ready. I'll step forward. I'm ready to share. I'm stretching one step further than I've stepped before. And then what happens? We frequently will shrink back, pull back. We'll start to notice all our imperfections. We'll start to think, well, I'm not like the other presents. I'm not like the other gifts. Or maybe I'm not wrapped right, or my hair is weird, or I'm not ready yet. I don't feel ready. But I've discovered feelings will follow actions. If we keep waiting and waiting and waiting to be ready, to feel ready, we're going to keep waiting. We need to be in motion. We need to be in action. And that gift that I took back was ready. Maybe there's a little torn edge in the paper, but that just means it's getting to reveal itself a little bit sooner. It doesn't need as much help opening. I think we try too hard to make things appear a certain way. And one of the things we talked about this morning is being authentic, on really being willing to share who we are and being grounded in that, being powerful in that is enough. That is needed exactly as we are. And sometimes it's actually in those least shiny moments we shine the brightest. I had an event, or it was filled. We had expected, I think, about 75 people, and we had well over 100, so it was standing room only. They were kind of packed in. And the stage had become really small. It was like one of these squares this way. So I could step this way about 3 steps, this way about 3 steps, and you notice I move. Have we noticed this? So I was used to having a little more range, and I was elegantly dressed. Fabulous shoes, of course. And we were coming to the end of the presentation. You know how your heart is beating with that connection. You can feel it echo throughout the room. It was that kind of a day, that kind of a presentation. And we're coming to the end, raising our hands, claiming our truth. And I stepped off into the sound equipment. Horrified gasp. And I'm a little shocked. So that was first. And then I started to hurt. And I'm standing up, and there's this horrified, people leaning forward, peeking into the door, making sure things are okay. And I try to pop up gracefully, and I say, "What am I? I'm so..." And I was thinking, I'm so glad I taught them that in the beginning. Set myself up for a success. But they didn't say it quite, it was a little bit horrified the way they said it. This is a room full of healers. And someone had the opportunity to step into a leadership position. She ran to the front of the room and she stopped me. And she says, no, you've poured into us, we're going to pour into you. And that whole room of over 100 healers poured their loving support and energy into me. I got to receive. To this day, I'm still in touch with many of those people. They learn you can stand again once you fall. It's okay. And I learned to receive in that space, and that shines too. And what they needed most was honest, authentic connection, not a show. I had so many calls reaching out to me afterwards, making sure I was okay, putting cream and oils and all kinds of things on me to support my healing process. I became real approachable to them. And one of them, because I would receive. We have to give and receive. We have to be willing to rise again when we stumble and we don't think we shine. But sometimes that's exactly what is needed in that time and place. And it's more comfortable when we don't fall off stages. But realizing that's not the end of the story. We get to stand again. I talked in November because we were finishing up our book, because we launched this book the first week of December. Empowering You, Transforming Lives. And I was looking up a lot of quotes. We include a lot of powerful quotes. Oh, that reminds me, actually. Let me segue here, or just jump in. I was going to read today's quote for you. I forgot to do that this morning. Thought for the day. Patience, persistence, and perspiration. Perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. Napoleon Hill. Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. So being patient, being persistent, and then putting the action and the work behind it is unbeatable. Being willing to rise up again. So as I was preparing for the event in November, Mindful Holiday Magic, I'm searching for quotes like this and seeking where do those 365 pieces of data go to support a year's journey? What order do they go into? Feeling into that. And I had this brilliant idea. Oh, I know what I'll do. While we're doing this, let's leverage this, and I'll also prepare for my presentation, right? So let me look for quotes about success. Let me inspire people in Mindful Holiday Magic to step into their success powerfully and gracefully. You know what I discovered? Every quote I found talked about failure. I thought, well, that is not an uplifting message. Failure. All the success came after failure. And you know what dawned on me? Because I kept deleting pages and doing another search. Has anyone done that? Like, you don't find what you want, you keep looking. You keep getting information and truth shared with you. The failure is just a step along the way. We give failure too much power. We think it means stop. wrong, this is the end. We need to rise up one more time and try again. When we're learning to walk, we don't stop trying because we fell down the first couple times. We get up again and we celebrate that. Somehow, as we grow up, we start thinking that's not okay, failure is bad, and we try to hide our mistakes. We try to hide what we don't think is perfect. And I want to invite us to step forward anyway. To realize if we stub our toe, if we fall off the stage, if we make a mistake, if something doesn't work the way we thought it should, now we just learned something from that. We learned that's not the way to do it. Or let me try again. Or I grew some strength and courage on the process. And in the end, I don't feel like a failure is ever truly a failure. There's so much we learn from it. We discover our courage. We discover our strength. We discover people are watching and are inspired that we get up again. We are far more powerful than we know. There are far more people watching than we realize. And I don't mean that in a scary way, I mean that in a good way. That we are having impact. We are having influence. Let's do so purposely. Let's take actions that match what matters to us, what we want to bring forward. That's part of springing forward. And I think it involves having a plan, having a strategy. So question, nobody needs to raise their hands. You do not need to self-identify, but I'm curious how many of you had a plan for today? A strategy, something, a result you wanted to have happen for coming here. Just kind of check in. I think sometimes we feel like there's mutually exclusive. Being in the heart means not having a plan or a strategy. I want to suggest they weave together. The intentions we set is setting a plan. That's a direction we're going. That's something we're wanting to bring into our life. We could have set the intention that I want to make 3 connections. And then we take the actions to follow up. Let the connection be the beginning. So part of springing forward, bringing forward what matters most to us, I believe involves a level of strategy and planning. But I think the where we're going starts in the heart. What we're wanting to bring forward, what we're called to do, and then we let our beautiful brains start developing pathways there. And strategies to support us on the journey. Because one of the things I shared this morning, life is not a solo journey. Very good. Because that's the other thing. We try to do these things on our own versus allowing and bringing in support. And I can tell you it's a lot more fun when you have support on the journey. I also shared in the beginning how stepping into media and what visibility meant to me. But I didn't necessarily share why I was so resistant to stepping forward. And I wanted to just give you some snapshots of that journey that has led to today. Because to me, I feel like we can learn from that, grow from that, and really bring forward the gift that we are. So we're not almost stepping forward, almost handing it to somebody and then pulling back. Is it okay if I share? Okay. So during my formative years as a young girl, I grew up in an environment that was unsafe. I experienced all kinds of abuse that a little girl should not know about, much less experience. When I cried out for help, it was not believed. I was put back in that environment, and it became more severe. I learned I don't matter. There's something wrong with me. I am not okay. It's my fault. I'm unlovable. I need to be invisible. I had to stay below the radar to survive. So I learned to smile really big, act like everything was okay. But if you looked close, as that little girl, you could tell something just was maybe not quite right. That there was something there, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it. And you look closer, I had the really sad eyes, never wanting to go home. Give me extra credit, anything to stay in the room. I'll clean the chalkboard. Don't send me home. And eventually the truth came out, and I was rescued, for which I'm very grateful. And I got to go on a healing journey. So my dad, who will be here this afternoon, is a hero of mine. He fought the battle to rescue me. And my stepmom, who became the mom of my heart, I'd follow her around like a little chick. And I came at great cost, so I learned I had great value. I learned I was lovable. They loved me. That I mattered. That it wasn't my fault. The hardest part of the journey for me, though, was being willing to be seen, really believing it was safe to be seen and heard. Because I knew it intellectually. We know lots of things intellectually. Like, we're smart. We have lots of things we know. Lots of degrees we've earned. Lots of certifications. We have great, amazing knowledge. But it's different to know it on a cellular level. That you believe it and you live it. And that was my journey. I got really good at hiding behind image, certifications, licenses. I'm an achiever. Rebecca Hall Gruyter, I like lists, and I'm an achiever. And I ended up in the business world, financial advisor. And I wanted, I $25 million club, anything I could achieve, I was doing. Notable networker, all of those things. And if I dressed just right, and I wore the right shoes, and I put on my uniform, I could stand before any audience. Hiding behind my certifications, hiding behind my licenses, leading with content and information, but no heart. And I looked out in the world and I thought, wow, I'm standing in front of people. I'm sharing a message. Why are lives and hearts not being changed? I've seen those motivational speakers. I had the seed planted in my heart. I was 18 years old. I went to a Women's of Faith conference, never seen a motivational speaker before. Thousands of people in the auditorium, this little tiny stage, and on the big old Jumbotron. And women of all different shapes and sizes are taking the stage, and they're sharing their stories, and I could feel hearts shift. And I had that seed planted, maybe, just maybe, my story could be used for good. Maybe it could make a difference. I saw the generations hurt and the power of that, generation after generation. What if that same power could be harnessed for good? So my way of getting there was through the financial business world as a speaker. And so I kind of got a little bit angry. I have conversations with God. I don't know if any of you do, but I would have these conversations with God. On the healing journey, I would say, okay, God, I will do this mean, hard, horrible thing you're asking me to do of telling the truth, taking a stand, stepping forward, if. Do any of us ever put contingencies if? It can make a difference for another. I will do that. Even though I don't think I should have to. I feel like I've suffered enough. I shouldn't have to do this. But I'm willing if it can make a difference. So I would take that step because I loved others more than I loved myself. It took me a while to love myself too. So then we move forward into the business world, and I'm standing in front of these audiences, and I'm sharing, and I'm giving great information and content. But here's the deal. When you're hiding behind a uniform, because you can hide in the public eye, when you're hiding behind content, when you're hiding behind an image, when you're hiding behind information, and someone rejects it, it doesn't hurt very much. They just didn't get it. It wasn't for them. When you bare your heart and it's rejected, that hurts. It's vulnerable. It can get a little messy. But yet so many of us are wanting people to step forward. We're wanting people to move in a direction. We're wanting people to be authentic and vulnerable, but we want them to go first. But the deal is, if we're the leader and we're leading that, and that's a message we've been given to share, we need to share it and lead that, create the bridge. It's their choice if they walk across it. Well, we still, I feel, have that responsibility if we're called to leadership and we're called to speak and share a message. That is leadership. That we need to be willing to share authentically, to open our hearts, to be vulnerable, take away those barriers. Because I thought they were protecting me. What they were doing is they were creating a disconnect so people couldn't actually see or hear me. They weren't protecting, they were keeping from. And it's a lot of energy to try to appear a certain way. A lot of energy, don't lower the voice, do this, don't do that, and all these rules in our head, and I've got to wear the right shoes. Like, it's a lot of pressure. And that's a lot of energy that we can free up. So I have good news. We can free up by releasing some of that and being willing to fully be who we are and share that. There's great joy and power in it and freedom. So fast forward, I started to get this call, Rebecca. And it was God, to me it was God saying, Rebecca, it's time to tell your story. And I thought, oh no. I'm a financial advisor. This is not what we do. We don't talk about that stuff. And it kept coming and kept coming. And this is where I was getting angry at God. And I said, and by the way, I'm doing the speaking thing. I'm not seeing any hearts transform. I think you sold me a bill of goods here. I'm not believing. And that's when he shared I was hiding. And my response was no, denial. No, I'm not. I'm in front of people speaking all the time. People know me. Super humble. And he says they know you, they know your information, but they don't know you. They don't know your heart. They don't know your message. Are you willing? I don't think I should have to. I've worked really hard to get to this place. I've suffered enough. There's so many other people way more qualified than me. Let them be the gift. Let them be the messenger. I'll give you their names. I'm asking you. Wrestling, because secretly I did want my story to make a difference. I'd had that inside me. I did want that. But when you want something so dearly, it's so close to you, you're kind of afraid to step into it because if it doesn't work, it's going to hurt. It feels scary. It feels vulnerable. The stakes are high. So wrestling 9 months, I said, okay, God, I will do this mean, hard, horrible thing you're asking me to do of share my story. If it can make a difference for another, and I don't have to speak to more than 50 people at a time, no radio, no television, no books. I'm not a writer. I don't want any microphones that are recording. I'll use it because my voice isn't super loud. No cameras of any sort, and no television. And crowds of under 50. Let's go change the world. Crickets. Oh, God? I said yes. Came back to me misunderstood. This is yes or no, period. There aren't boundaries. There aren't contingencies. Will you go where I call you to go and share what I call you to share or not? It is your choice. Side note, no one was asking me to do any of those things at that time. Those are like the scariest things I could think of to say no to. So finally I said, okay, yes, but I really hope I don't have to. And I listed everything again just so he was clear and had the list. 3 months later, I was on a stage in front of 300 people, live streamed. Kind of checked those things right off. Had 2 book deals in the works. 2 radio interviews lined up. Television interview I felt tricked into. In 7 minutes to share my story. Shaking. I eyed the exit so I could leave as quickly as I needed to, as fast as I could, as gracefully as possible. And I gave myself full permission to leave, to walk off the stage if I needed to. What shifted for me in that moment is I was choosing to be there. Every 30 seconds I chose to be there. I was there on purpose because I knew in every cell of my body, someone in the audience needed what I had. I was willing to be scared. I was willing to share if it could make a difference for one. And so I did. Shaking, didn't have my words correct all right. My face turned purple. It doesn't do red, it goes right to purple. My throat was threatening to close up. Tears were coming down my face, shaking. I don't know exactly what I said, but I know what I felt, and I know what my heart was in it. Got a standing ovation I did not see. It was out of my body. Got off the stage. There were a lineup of men and women. It looked endless to me. I'm sure it wasn't, but it felt and looked endless. And the first person came up to me and goes, "Rebecca, thank you. I was the one." And the next person said the same thing. And the next, and the next, and the next. And then it shifted, and they started saying, "Rebecca, I could tell you were scared." So I didn't hide it. It was clear. "But you cared enough for me to do it anyway. Thank you. That gives me courage. I'm going to go do this. I'm inspired. I'm going to do this. I've been afraid too long. I can make a difference. I can make a difference for one." And it went on and on. And Brandy was in the room that day. And she took my hand and she goes, "I need to be part of what you're doing. I need to be in this." And we've been doing amazing things ever since on the journey. And I'm very grateful for you. And one of the things I learned, there were so many things I learned that day, but one of them was I didn't have to be perfect. I just had to be willing. I just had to be willing. And all the other pieces fell into place. One of those books became an international bestseller. It was an anthology, put me on the international markets, got a lot of visibility and exposure in that, which then led to radio, so a radio show on Voice America, which then led to a television channel. I was trying to think of the journey, television channel, which then led to creating my own television network. On the publishing side, I started leading anthologies because they made such a big difference in my life. And it was an honor to lead those projects with multiple authors coming together. As a compiler, I found I had a gift for leadership, and I could help us move forward in a really powerful way, creating visibility for everybody. That led to becoming a publisher and helping people publish their own books and their own anthologies, creating a magazine that we now publish internationally. And the television network has grown and expanded, and we created opportunities for people to step into leadership positions, creating their own shows and programs, as well as their own channels where they can bring people aboard and create networking channels. Networking channels on the show, on the blah. I'm so there we go. I'm getting tangled up in my words. Creating opportunity, that's what I'll say, just creating opportunity internationally. And one of the things I learned on the radio side is the power of syndication. Like, we don't have to do all of it our own and recreate everything all the time. We can actually take a lot of the amazing content we've built and repurpose that or share it out on another platform, another way to reach people. So we build that into everything that we do. That's how we can leverage things. We can accomplish more with the same actions. So fast forwarding to today, we started building the events. When I was a financial advisor, that's part of the roots, because I used to try to do these amazing Saturday seminars all about finance. Here's how to work it, here's how to budget, here's how to grow to your future, and people would not come. I'd have 6 people in the room, and 4 of them were speakers and a helper. And I finally got curious, and I asked them, "Hey, why are you not coming?" Not like, why aren't you coming? But why are you not interested? I've been creating these because I thought it would serve. What is it that isn't serving you? What is it you would like instead? They said, "Rebecca, you do that for us. and with us, we don't want to spend our Saturday immersed in that. I could understand that. I said, what do you want? We'd love to have an environment where we could come together and be poured into, mind, body, soul, and spirit. We'd love to have a way where we can connect authentically, take our masks off, and be poured into and connect. And I thought, I'd like that too. Maybe I could create that. And those are the roots of the event you're at today. And I'm sharing this because I believe each of us are called to step forward just a little bit more, to share the gift of who we are a little bit more, and we resist. We have all kinds of reasons of who else is more qualified. Someone else can do that better, and I'll give you the list. They're better at wrapping the gift, packaging the gift, sharing the gift than I. But you know what? No one can be more full of you than you. Nobody can be the gift that you are to the world. I can't wait to see the amazing, wonderful things you are called to plant and grow in your life and those around you. That you're willing to keep going forward to make a difference for those you're called to make a difference for. So I'd like you to take a moment and stop, pause, close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself as a beautiful, shiny gift. Your favorite color or colors. Sparkle if you like sparkle. And dial it up, make it just a little bit more you. And picture sharing you out into arms that are just waiting to receive. And as you're handed over to those arms that say, I've been waiting for you, I'm the one. Thank you for sharing with me. How does that feel? And as you're feeling that and you're being so powerfully received, what message would you share with yourself right now? Knowing how that feels, knowing it's serving. Receive that message. Come back into the room, present time, and capture that message just for you, from you to you. Use the gift being powerfully received. To you now, considering sharing more of you. And is there something being placed on your heart that ties into visibility around this? A way with that message you can share more of you. Is there something that is being laid on your heart that you kind of keeps coming up and you kind of think someone else could do that better? Someone else is more qualified? What is that thing? Because I want to remind you, nobody else can do that like you. And perhaps you're exactly the difference that is needed for such a time as this. And I want to circle around on this. You should have all received this. Did we hand out? We're handing out these beautiful charts that look like a star. What goes in the center? That's right. You and a heart. I heard a heart. And I want you to add the word gift. You are the gift. And if we're looking at this from a business perspective, are you right now reaching people in person? Are you sharing the gift of you in person? I can answer that for you. Yes, you're here. And you've been sharing. So yes, you are doing that. This can be at events, on stage, as a sponsor, all different kinds of ways, but where you're connecting in person with people. But here's the catch: you can hide in the public eye. So are you sharing you? Really showing up, connecting with people in a real way while you're there in person? How about social media? Are you there? And which medias are you on? Consistently. In any sort of relationship, any sort of connection, we need to have a consistency that builds trust, that builds rapport, that builds connection. In print, are you there? Magazines, articles, books, anything along those lines? Showing up in print? Helps people to have voices and information and connections in lots of different medias. They need to hear the message in different ways. And it builds trust. Are you showing up on stages and platforms? I call it platforms. This could be, are you being interviewed on programs, on shows? Are you a guest speaker on stages? Other people's platforms where they're creating the event, are you there? And are you there in a visible way? Do you have your own platforms? Your own show? Your own event? So we're looking at kind of where you are now. What has helped me go beyond where I am now to each step of the way, to move forward, to echo out, is I remember this. The people we are yet to meet, the people we are yet to touch their lives, to impact them, are frequently outside our current reach and outside our comfort zone. We get to be the bridge. Those people that need you, just like we're building the bridge, we're opening our heart, we're extending the hand. It's the same thing in all of these medias. If your people are on Instagram, learn Instagram. If you're people at live events, go to those events. Be easy to find. They're lovingly collected in these different clusters. Go to that cluster. And it may be out of your comfort zone. But are you willing to be a little uncomfortable, learn some new ways to reach the people that need you? Are you still hoping they'll discover you and come to you? So the truth is, we lead the visibility. We lead that connection. We want to be easy to find. Find out where your people are, go there. Be willing to go outside your comfort zone. because it will make a difference for one by one by one. And then groups. And then the people they know. And it will spread. But we need to be willing to stop waiting for them to come to us and reach out to where they are. So knowing that, thinking about that, considering that, look at your star. And is there a space where you're feeling a prompting to grow a little bit more, to reach out a little bit more? Circle that point on the star. And remember, it's not a solo journey. You don't have to do it on your own. But it's good to know where you're going, what that next step of growth is, where you want to focus, where you want to get support. Because otherwise it can just be, I want more visibility, I want to touch more people. Let's kind of figure out where. And then you can build a path there. Does that make sense? And you can't do everything all at once. So you can choose and take a step and another step and another step. And with that, I'm going to bring our time to a close, but I want to give you something to think about as I do. And I'm trying to choose. I had a couple quotes I wanted to share with you. So this is by Abraham Lincoln. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Anayanin. You cannot afford to live in potential for the rest of your life. At some point, you have to unleash the potential and make your move. Eric Thomas. You cannot afford to live in potential for the rest of your life. At some point, you have to unleash the potential and make your move. Eric Thomas. Don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Be led by the dreams in your heart. Roy T. Bennett. And then, William James. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. And with that, I want to thank you. I look forward to each of you springing forward powerfully in 2019 and beyond. Thank you.